Hi there, welcome to my channel and welcome to part 2 of Museum Monday. And first of all, sorry that this upload is late. I ran a little bit behind with some of my uploads over the weekend, but I'm finally getting caught up now. We're returning back to Blathers the Owl to see how he's getting on with his museum population challenge. In this episode, I'm hoping to just do a little bit more collecting. I'm going to try to branch out and get some of the city posters from San Myshuno as well. And he'll carry on digging and getting fossils and looking for frogs and fishing when I can get him to do it and he's not too disgusted by it, being squeamish as he is. So while Blathers is sleeping, I'm just going to breed some of the frogs. You can do it while he's asleep. You can obviously only do it every few hours, but you can do it even when the sim is asleep, so I'm going to keep doing that because obviously collecting the frogs does stress him out, but breeding them doesn't seem to affect him. So I'm going to try to do that as much as I can. Breeding the frogs, of course, not only helps me to collect more of the frogs to get more of the collection complete, but where it creates a duplicate, it does give me something to sell for a bit of money, and his funds are quite low at the moment, and he's woken up tense and stressed, which is not great. So I'll try and get him to maybe do some things to cheer him up a little bit in this episode as well. Blathers has got 2 leaf frogs in his inventory there, so I'm going to take one out and put it into his house, and I'll leave the other one in the inventory for breeding purposes. I'm trying to keep one of everything in the inventory so I can keep breeding back and forth, and once it gets up to 2 I can put the spare one in the house for display, and if I get more than 2 I can just sell them. I just mounted that fish. It's not my plan to mount all the fish. I will be displaying them in aquariums, but that's a fairly common one, and it looks quite good as the sign, like the sign that we would have in the museum in Animal Crossing. It looks kind of similar when you mount a fish. So I've done that so that we can have that up on the wall, and that's the side that will be the aquarium. It will be on the right hand side on the ground floor of the museum there, ultimately, once we build the museum up a bit more. So while he eats his breakfast, I'm going to have a look around the neighbourhood, and I'm starting to see the prairie grass popping up. I did put on a lot trait of wild prairie grass, which I did just so that once it's fully grown he can cut it down. It doesn't sell for very much. I think you only get about 2 simoleons per batch that you collect, but you quite often find things in the prairie grass, and sometimes it can be frogs or other collectible things. So it's there just to try and help him build up his collections, and anything else that he finds, which is usually harvestables, he can just sell. Very occasionally you find bottles of nectar, but it tends to be the cheaper, lower quality ones. But again, he doesn't have any other source of income, so I'm seeing that more as just another way of making money as well. Hopefully he's not too uncomfortable as well to come round and start digging around the neighbourhood. I'm queuing all this up for him, but I can see that he's uncomfortable, and if he becomes very uncomfortable as he starts this, he's probably going to cancel it all off. Oh no, he's tense now instead. Great. And I learned in the last episode the best thing to do is to get him to collect the frog last, because if I put collecting the frogs in the middle of his task list, as soon as he's picked up the frog he becomes very uncomfortable and won't do anything else. So I think there's 2 frog logs, but I can get him to get the other one later on. That's fine. I'll get him to take a shower to hopefully he's needing to take a shower because his hygiene need is low, but also it will hopefully help with his stressed mood that he's got going on right now. And Blathers is actually making quite good progress with his aspiration as well. I haven't been concentrating on it, but the first step, the first milestone there, is just collecting crystals, frogs and fossils, which I'm asking him to purposefully collect the frogs. And the fossils, you find them from digging, and you find crystals doing that as well. So he should be able to get that completed fairly quickly because we are purposefully doing all of those things every day. I'll probably just use this first lot of satisfaction points to give him some of the lower level things that you can buy in the rewards store. I usually like to have the observant trait because it makes it easier meeting other Sims. You get to find out exactly what their personality is, and I just find that useful in general. And I'll probably give him the gym rat trait because he's not got the best shower. And because he's out and about and digging and fishing and looking for frogs, he's getting dirty quite quickly. So if I get him the gym rat trait, he can go out and about and he won't get as dirty when he's exercising and moving about. No, I don't want an entire family coming to stay with me in my not even a proper house. Who's calling? He's calling me back straight away as well. Obviously no hard feelings because he's invited me to go to the lounge. So I will get Blathers to go to that because he needs to get his social need up anyway. I got Blathers to chat to some people at that bar there for a little bit, and now I've travelled and Kado's come with us. I didn't ask him to, but he has anyway, just because I wanted to come to San Myshuno to look for any city posters, but I think we're too late in the day, so I'm going to have to try and make a point to come here in the morning to get the posters. And there's actually a protest on here, and when I was doing my City Native Aspiration playthrough with Summer Holiday, she lived in this neighbourhood, and I don't think I ever saw a protest outside her apartment. But yeah, it's typical that when I don't need to find one, there's one right there. Yeah, there's no posters ready to collect, so I'll definitely have to come back in the morning. I travelled again and Keijo came with me again. I think the game had automatically selected to take him with me and I've just ended up taking him. But anyway, I've come to the starter neighbourhood in Willow Creek just because I know, because I've started so many households in this neighbourhood, I know exactly where everything is. And I know that there's dig spots here, and I know that there's frog logs here, and I know that I can get Blathers to go around and find some more of the collectibles that he's going to need. And if he doesn't get uncomfortable doing this, I'll ask him to fish, but I think he's probably going to get uncomfortable. Nope. I'm not even going to answer that one. And that's another no. Kato invited me to the Full Moon Revelry, and I've got that same situation I had when I was invited to go during my first playthrough with Emily on the Fabulously Filthy Aspiration, where the goal at the top left there is blank, and we've appeared somewhere in the world that is miles away from where we're supposed to be. And again, I can't actually find where we're supposed to be. And probably by the time I find it, the event will be over, not that I know what I'm supposed to be doing anyway. Okay, I eventually found it. It was harder to find than I thought. I knew I was looking for a fire this time at least, but it still wasn't that obvious when the map is so dark. It was still quite difficult to find. And for some reason they don't seem to exactly be hurrying to go there. I don't know why they spawn in so far away from where they're actually supposed to be. No, Kado's just given up. He's just given up, it's too far for him to go. So Blathers will just be going to the fire by himself. And great, we've got Judith and Brittany here. We've got two celebrities, so that's not going to be a lot of fun. I'm just going to intentionally get Blathers to come and speak to Grace and Simeon over here so that he's away from the celebrities, because I can't be bothered with them. I could attempt an introduction and try to get an autograph, because you can sell the autographs for a minimum of 50 simoleons, but I really can't be bothered dealing with either of those two, so I'll just get Blathers to speak to some of these other Sims and get his social need up until the event ends. I don't know if going to that was more harm than good, but at least it got Blathers' social need up. So once he's gone to bed, I'll do some more breeding of frogs, see if I can get anything out of that, and then in the morning, again, I'll just be sending him round the neighbourhood to see what he could collect. Unfortunately, going to that, he stayed up quite late, so I don't know if he'll be up early enough or not for us to go to San Myshuno and try and get some city posters. I'll see what time he wakes up. Blathers was in a good mood until I asked him to collect a frog from the frog log, and now he's back to being very uncomfortable again, so I'm just going to get him to watch a bit of TV whilst I sell any extras that he's collected, do a bit of frog breeding, and see where we're at. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. I don't know if we'll maybe be too late for going to San Myshuno. I'll see once we've got rid of his very uncomfortable moodlet. I'll see what time it is. Keijo is inviting Blathers to go to GeekCon, and I'm just going to say yes. It'll get his social need up. He doesn't have any video gaming programming skill, but I'm still just going to go and enter the competitions, because in the past, when I've gone along and tried it, sometimes you don't need a lot of points to win. Okay, so that was a bit of a bust because I didn't win either of them, but it let Blathers do some socialising, so I'm happy enough with that. I was trying to get Blathers to do some collections, and he fell asleep on a public bench and would not wake up. And even though I crossed off the action, it didn't stop it. So he's now woken up in the middle of the night, so I'm sending him to do some fishing because he's woken up just with the energised moodlet that he gets for wearing his cheeky little owl cap. So I'm getting him to go fishing just now, and I think it's probably going to go the same way it did last time. I can already see he's got an uncomfortable moodlet. What seems to happen is the second he catches just one fish, he becomes very uncomfortable and stops. So I'm probably going to have to get him to fish more often, because if he can only catch one fish at a time, it's going to be more difficult to get him to complete this part of the challenge by collecting all the fish. Yeah, there you go, he's become very uncomfortable and stopped, and it's because he's caught a new fish. So I'll just let him go home now, that's fine. And Blathers is also getting an uncomfortable moodlet from having the frogs displayed in the house where he's living. He's getting that trash can, dirty living conditions moodlet that's making him even more uncomfortable. So I think I'm probably going to have to spend some of the funds, even though I don't have very many, changing the layout of the house a little bit so that I can display the frogs somewhere that he's not in regular contact with them. And there goes my second favourite phone call that you get in this game, and I will now be locking the doors because with all these uncomfortable moodlets, I don't need Blathers getting bitten by Vlad and being taken out for another day because he's uncomfortable yet again. That's my second least favourite call in the game because, of course, my least favourite calls are the calls from Bess Sterling. I'm going to say yes to this just to get the money, because I know that saying yes, I get the money and there's no consequences. If I was playing a rags to riches challenge or something, I would say no because it would feel like cheating. But I'm just going to say yes because it will probably give me at least 2,000 simoleons and that'll let me do some renovations. It's given me 4,000 simoleons, even better. So that means I can now do a little bit of expansion works to the house/museum, and I can move the frogs somewhere where Blathers isn't constantly feeling disgusted by them. Blathers is getting all the phone calls. He's now getting the secret admirer phone call. I'm going to say no thanks because I don't really have time. I don't want to be rude, but I also don't really have time to be actively pursuing a romantic relationship with anyone. And this way I see who it is. Okay, she's not too bad. It could have been worse. I know that she's got the cringe trait. I can't remember her name. She's from the For Rent expansion pack. She's in Tomarang. I know she's got the cringe trait because I had one of my Sims in one of my playthroughs have a relationship with her when I first got the For Rent expansion pack, and I very quickly discovered exactly how the cringe trait works because I'd never played with it before then. Again, I'm not really looking for Blathers to have any romantic relationship with anyone, so I'll just leave it like that. I've scheduled a maid for Blathers because I've noticed that the house is getting dusty and dirty, and since he gets squeamish when things get dirty and he gets uncomfortable if I ask him to clean, it's just easier if I get someone else in. And now that I've got those extra funds, we can afford to pay for a cleaner service. So I've asked for a scheduled cleaner who will come regularly. Okay, so I just made a few changes to the building. I'm going to put in the trash can that gives me money so I can try and get some extra funds. I'm going to add an upstairs, which isn't going to look great, but the interior of, well, it's not going to look great from the outside because it is going to change the outer look of the museum, but I can always change the entrance later on to sort of make that look a bit better from the outside. But the interior of the museum in Animal Crossing does have an upstairs area. One side is the Roost Cafe and the other side is where the art is displayed. So I will need that eventually. I will also need a basement, but I'm not going to add that just yet. I've just put his bed upstairs just now so that he can sleep away from the frogs, and I've put them into the corner where his bed was. I'm hoping because it's there that the only time he's really going to see them is if he goes to the bathroom, he's passing close by them. Otherwise his living area is on the left and his bedroom's upstairs, so he should be away from them. And the only other major change I made was I've changed the flooring there to be a sort of greyish tile to look a bit more like the flooring in the original museum. I'll need to do a little bit more than that to make the flooring look better, but just now that's a good start. And he's just autonomously throwing up because he's so disgusted. But he has now just got a confident moodlet. He seems okay. So I think having the frogs over there has definitely helped, or it seems to be helping. And hopefully that stops him having all these issues with everything. Yeah, he's walking out through the house and he doesn't seem to be getting uncomfortable, so that's a good start. And since Blathers was feeling more confident, I've just come back to the starter neighbourhood in Willow Creek again, just so that I can run around, and everything has spawned there now. Last time I came, some of these frog logs and dig spots hadn't spawned, but they have all spawned now. I obviously won't get him to do that frog log first, because then he'll be too uncomfortable to do anything else, but I'm going to get him to go around and dig some of these dig spots, because I'm trying to get the dig spots cleared off as quickly as possible. There are only 21 fossils. I've done a playthrough before where I tried to complete all the base game collections, and the fossils, the crystals, and the elements I completed fairly quickly. And I think in that one I only used dig spots in the neighbourhood that the sim was living in. So usually you can rattle this out pretty quickly. It usually only takes a few weeks, maybe 3 to 4 weeks in game if you're doing it every day. So I'm hoping that I can get the fossils collection completed soon. And that's Katrina Caliente in a flirty mood trying to have a conversation with Blathers, but that's not going to happen because I need him to dig. So yeah, I'm hoping I can get the fossils completed fairly quickly, and then I'm going to start concentrating on the space prints and the city posters. I can't actually remember how the bugs in Granite Falls work. I'll have to look that up before I do the next episode on this, because I have tried completing that collection before and I was only able to get some of them. I know some of them are in the area where the hermit is, so some of them you do have to sort of put a bit of effort into solving the Granite Falls mysteries, if you like. But I think some of them are maybe seasonal, and if that's the case, I'm going to need to go after them sooner rather than later. While we're still in the spring season, I'll need to send Blathers across to get all the spring bugs from Granite Falls. But I'm not 100% sure if that is how it works, so I'll have to read up on that and find out how that works. Given that fishing makes him just as uncomfortable as bugs probably will, I don't think I'll put that off as long as I thought I would, but I definitely want to get the art collection and the fossil collection complete because they don't bother him. So I'm putting in a lot of effort to try and get those two complete first, and then it will just be getting the fish and getting the bugs that's going to be a bit slower. I took Blathers to the second neighbourhood in Willow Creek, which is the one where the Pancakes family lives. I was going to get him to go around and get the dig spots here because, again, I'm very familiar with this neighbourhood and know where they all are. But he's got an uncomfortable moodlet from getting a frog and an uncomfortable moodlet because it's raining. So I don't think he's actually very uncomfortable, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get him to do anything anyway. It looks like one of those moodlets is fading. If it does, I might get him to get something. If not, I'm probably going to have to go home. It's kind of been like this a lot, when I'm finding that each day there's a limit to how much I can ask him to do because he just gets too uncomfortable. Making him squeamish has made this extremely difficult, but I still want to stick with it just to see what I can manage, and I'll keep pushing through. If it looks like this is going to be too difficult, I might either get someone else, move another sim in to help him out, or change things up a little bit, but I'm going to push on a little bit longer and see how well he can manage as he is. But yeah, he's remaining too uncomfortable to actually do anything. So I'm going to have to leave it again for this day and try again with him another day. So I'm going to end the episode there for today, and I'll pick up again next week. I would like to say that I'll try and do some work in between now and next week and try and condense things a bit more for next week's episode. But I don't know if I'll have time to because I fell a little bit behind with this week's episode. So we'll see what next week brings. Hopefully he does make some more significant progress though. Thanks for watching.